Seventh last word, surrender. We fight it with all our being because it means we're defeated and we always want to keep trying to win. This is especially true of life and our desire to stay alive. There is nothing more precious than life, and we'll battle for it until our last breath. But there comes a time, if we have a choice and don't die suddenly, when our bodies just won't let us fight anymore because of, say, sickness or old age. They give in and surrender, and with it, so our spirits. I imagine Jesus loved life more than any of us and so celebrated his own, and therefore never wanted to surrender it. But Roman soldiers had a lot to say about that. First, they weakened his body by scourging it, a process of whipping and beating that lasted for hours. Then they made him try to carry a heavy cross of wood a long walk through city streets up a hill to this place of execution called Golgotha, aptly meaning place of the skull, for the many that were left there to decay in the sun. Then his hands and feet were either tied or nailed to a cross, and he was hoisted up on it to die a slow and agonizing death. Criminals hung on their own crosses on either side of him. Maybe he didn't give up for them. Maybe his body just wouldn't let him give up. And maybe even then his spirit just loved life and his life too much. I imagine him looking up at the sky, possibly beautiful in its forlorn grayness, or on a clear blue that allowed him to look into the heavens and down into the beloved city of Jerusalem he loved so well. Maybe his heart was moved by a bird singing somewhere in the distance, or was made to shudder by buzzards soaring overhead waiting to make him their next meal. And maybe all this allowed him to live on. But hanging there with his arms stretched out made it harder and harder for him to breathe, and his body wore out, and with it his spirit and will to live. I imagine at this moment that Jesus experienced a peace that is like the stillness of the morning or the placidness of a lake. And maybe an even faint smile crept across his face that came from the knowledge of his God he knew awaited him. And it was at that moment, looking up into the heavens and out into that other dimension, that I imagine him softly exhaling his final breath with the words, "Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit."